As an infiltrator, I'm going to watch accounts payable, the CFO, what have you. I'm going to wait for you to send me a question about an invoice or something like that. I'm going to hijack that invoice. I'm going to hijack that communication stream, either because I control your account or I'm just watching it, and I'm going to create a new domain with your domain name with maybe one letter difference, or just a slight misspelling or a dash thrown in there. But I've seen your whole email stream, so I know what you call the person. I know if you use a nickname. I know all of that, and I can have all the sent mail in that chain because I've got a tap on it. And so I remove that communication so you no longer see it, and then I start interfacing with company one and saying, oh, our numbers changed. Make sure you put it here. And then that person, instead of paying company two, ends up paying bad guy. But then the reverse of that happens is sometimes it's actually company one that's subverted. They're the ones being watched. And so what happens is...
Because they can watch outbound as much as
they can watch outbound and inbound. And so the bad guy makes you, company one, pay them, all right? But they make it look like the bad email came from me.
Company two.
Right? And so now company two is doing all of the IT work saying, oh my God, how did we get subverted? All this kind of stuff. And in reality, they haven't been. So they're wasting tons of cycles. And while they're wasting those tons of cycles, company one is waiting for an answer from company two. And during that time, the bad guy cleans up after himself. Because all he has to do is go in once and remove that rule.
Because it's better for him to be super silent.
Oh, yeah, super silent.
And almost like unfindable in some respects.
Absolutely. And so that's really the biggest risk there.
I guess you'd have to look at the firewall to see which DNS entries for URLs were. It's probably the only way you could find it, right?
Well, what you hope is you have auditing turned on so you can find that one access out of a couple 100,000 accesses in the course of a month for that one user account, and you catch that one needle in the haystack. And that's one of the reasons I say 365 is more secure than on-prem, because on-prem, that's actually not turned on by default. And so those logs aren't really there by default. In 365, they're at least there. People might not look at them, but they exist in the background.
What would be the log from just a visual point of view? The CFO is in 365 of company one, and someone's there, a bad guy's in there looking at outbound, and is able to trick company two, looking like they're the CFO or the controller. What would the log be? What would be the needle in the haystack? How would the odd communication be picked up?
So figuring out who has been subverted, that would be only visible in the logs of the company that was subverted.
Right.
The person who was not subverted would never know.
Never know, okay.
However, if they have decent security, especially on the DNS side, something like OpenDNS, what they should catch there is when the bad guy hijacks the communication stream, changes by one character or a dash or something like that, that email comes in, something like OpenDNS would see that and say, this is a net new domain, therefore it's dangerous. And that would be probably the first flag that would warn people that that's a bad communication. Otherwise, you're also hoping that the issue is people are not being dumb about it anymore. So years ago, they would have spoofed it. The spam filter would see a spoof. It would do something about it. Now they're validly setting up a slightly different domain, or they're sending it from Google or Gmail or something that's valid. So it's not really showing up as a spoof anymore. And so you really have to rely on that human process of validation.
So back to the human process we started with, which is that has to be so super tight, not a text. Hey, can you authorize this? Yeah, you're authorized. It's got to be really, really
correct,
formal.
Yeah, and so your best bet is to have a good formal process and assume whoever you're dealing with is going to get subverted, and you've got a formal process to protect yourself and them. And then the flip side is make sure you've got the security in place so that you don't get subverted. And so that's going to be the MFA, conditional access, and cloud app security to prevent you from getting subverted in the first place.